Welcome to the 2020 Macon-Bibb Runoff Election Forum, hosted by League of Women Voters Macon, Macon, Georgia chapter of the Links Incorporated, and Macon-Bibb Runoff Election Forum, hosted by League of Women Voters Macon, Macon, Georgia chapter of the Links Incorporated. Forgive me for that. The League of Women Voters is a nonpartisan organization that encourages informed and active participation in government, works to increase understanding of major public policy issues, and influences public policy through education and advocacy. The Links Incorporated is an international not-for-profit organization based on the principles of friendship and service. Local chapters seek to positively impact local communities in which they serve. Georgia Women and Those Who Stand With Us is a Macon-based nonpartisan organization advocating on issues of importance to women and the country. The objective of the organization is for women and other minorities to be integral participants in decisions made at all levels of our government. I'm Claire Cox, president of Georgia Women. Marty Copeland and I are happy to represent Georgia Women on the Forum Planning Committee, along with the president of the Links, Sylvia McGee, and the League of Women Voters President, Mary Lou Azell, and League member, Carolyn Hargrove. This is the third in the series of virtual candidate forums hosted by this coalition of organizations. On May 11th, we hosted a forum for the candidates for Macon-Bibb mayor. I believe it was the first event of its kind in our area, and we were pleased during these unprecedented times to give our citizenship an opportunity to hear from all 5 candidates. If you missed that forum, you can find it on YouTube by searching for 2020 Macon-Bibb Mayoral Candidates Forum. Similarly, on May 26, we hosted candidates for Macon-Bibb District Attorney and Sheriff. This district attorney race has been decided, but because it is a partisan race, voting between the 2 candidates for sheriff occurs this fall. You can find that recording on YouTube at 2020 Macon-Bibb Criminal Justice Forum. Tonight's hour-and-a-half event will be conducted in 3 segments. The first segment will be Board of Education District 1, followed by County Commission District 5, and then County Commission District 7. Instead of a gathering in one location somewhere in Macon tonight, we have convened all participants in a closed Zoom meeting and are streaming to you live via the Facebook pages of the 3 sponsor organizations. The event is being recorded and will be available tomorrow via Georgia Women's YouTube channel, and we'll be sharing that link. Feel free to share the Facebook live stream or host a watch party on your page tonight, or share the YouTube video tomorrow. If you share the Facebook live stream, make sure to communicate that questions for the candidates should be submitted to middlegeorgiavotes@gmail.com. That's middlegeorgiavotes@gmail.com. We will not be collecting questions from Facebook posts because of the numerous locations we hope this event will be streamed. The questions submitted to middlegeorgiavotes@gmail.com are compiled in a Google Doc by a team of screeners, 1 person from each of the sponsor organizations, headed by Marty Copeland and including Debbie Cockrell and Therese McGee. This team will sort the questions and group duplicates. The forum moderator, Liz Jarvis-Fabian, will access the document in order to ask the questions. Be aware, prior to the start of the forum, we had numerous questions, so it's clear we'll not get to all of them, but many are duplicative or similar, and from that, we know which areas are of greatest concern to the community. Thank you to our 6 candidates for agreeing to participate in this forum, and even more so because of the novel experience it is. In alphabetical order, our candidates are, for Board of Elections, District 1, Tara Edwards and Murtis C. Johnson. For County Commission, Seat 5, Seth Clark and Carlton Kitchens. For County Commission, Seat 7, William Howell and Bonnie Thompson. We're also grateful to have Rachel Gamble volunteering as our Zoom meeting manager. Rachel is versed in numerous media platforms and has been an invaluable resource in all of these endeavors. You may hear or see Rachel during the evening if technology requires. We don't want any candidate disadvantaged by the platform, and Rachel is here to assure that they are not. Also on your screen is Carolyn Hargrove, an experienced veteran of candidate forums as a member of League of Women Voters. She will serve as timer. Candidates are familiar with her paddles, which indicate 30 seconds and 15 seconds remaining, as well as a stop paddle. These will also be visible on your screen and to the candidates. Zoom gives us the additional interesting ability to mute a speaker if we need to, but we trust that won't be necessary and that all candidates will heed the stop sign when their time is up. Finally, this forum is not a debate. There will be no rebuttals. All questions will be put to all candidates. The forum's moderator will explain more about the format momentarily. For now, I'd like to call on Sylvia McGee, President of Macon, Georgia, chapter of the Links, to introduce this evening's moderator.
Thank you, Claire. Good evening, and thank you for joining us. Being an informed and active voter is essential to our democratic process, and we are sponsoring this forum as a means of informing you. The Macon-Bibb County nonpartisan general runoff election will be held on August 11th. The runoff election will include the office of the mayor for all voters and 2 district races for the Macon-Bibb County Commission, Districts 5 and 7, and 1 race for the Bibb County Board of Education, District 1. Early voting started today and will continue through August 7th. Per the Board of Elections webpage, any registered voter can request an absentee ballot and vote by mail. However, these requests must be made no later than August 7th. If you have specific concerns, please contact the Bibb County Board of Elections. Your vote is your voice and your power. We strongly encourage you to exercise it. It is now my pleasure to present our moderator for this evening's forum. Liz Jarvis Fabian is the Civic Reporting Senior Fellow at the Center for Collaborative Journalism at Mercer University. She covers government commissions, boards, and authorities. For nearly 4 decades, Liz has been on the front lines of the headlines while working at all of Macon's TV stations, the Weather Channel, and as the premier video journalist at the Telegraph and Macon.com. She has won numerous awards for her writings and public safety coverage of natural disasters, including hurricanes, fires, tornadoes, and the Great Flood of 1994. Liz, thank you for your service, and I hand to you the baton.
Liz, I think you need to click your button because it is not working on my end. I apologize for that.
There we go. Thank you very much, everyone. And I want to particularly thank all of you who have joined us, and especially the 6 individuals who are putting themselves forward for service. Thank you very much. Now, our format for this evening, we're going to begin, as we said, we have 3 different sections for this forum tonight. First, we will begin with opening statements, and each of the candidates will have an opening statement in 1 minute. And then we will proceed with questions. Now, 2 of these questions have been put together by a special committee representing all of the organizations involved tonight. And we will have 2 of those prepared questions, and then we will have as many audience questions as we can get in during that segment. And each of those answers are 2 minutes each. And then we will come back with a wrap up, a final closing statement from each of the candidates for 1 minute. So we're going to begin now with the Board of Education District 1 between Murtis Johnson and Tara Edwards. And Ms. Johnson has won the draw to begin first, and she will have a minute for her opening statement.
Ms. Johnson, you'll need to click the unmute button. For some reason, it's not working on my end. So if you look at your screen, you should have the option to unmute button.
I'm Meredith Champion Johnson. I want to be a champion for the students of District 1. Take a look at my track record. I have served in this school district for over 30 years. I have a proven record of my leadership abilities in the school district at Macedonia Church and president of the Georgia and Bibb Retired Educators. I'm well qualified, creative, and achiever. I live in District 1 for 47 years. My children graduated from Northeast High School, which is in District 1. As an educator, parent, grandparent, school volunteer, and community leader, I've learned the needs of this district. I care deeply about our children, parents, and the educators of our schools. If you want a champion in the seat, then vote for Meredith Champion Johnson.
And now, Ms. Tara Edwards, also running in Board of Education District 1. Your opening statement, please.
Thank you. Good evening. I'm Tara Edwards, and I am the best choice to sit on the Board of Education seat in District 1 because I currently have children in the Bibb County Public School System. When my husband and I had our first child, we were immediately told that we could not send her to public school, and we immediately rejected that idea. I know that making our community better requires sending your children to public school to make our community more vibrant, more attractive to businesses. All of that requires great public schools. So I've dedicated myself to being part of the solution, sending my girls to public schools, serving on the PTA, fundraising, and facilitating communication between administration and parents. I volunteered as a court-appointed special advocate for children in the foster care system for 7 years. I've been trained as an attorney, and I will bring all of those skills and years of experience along with the intimate knowledge about what is happening in our public schools during this unprecedented time to the Board of Education.
Thank you very much. And as we begin the questions, we will be going back and forth with the candidates. So Ms. Edwards, I'm asking you the first question. What are your priorities in a time of budgetary shortfall?
Yes, we are facing many budget cuts, and the priority needs to be getting children the kind of education that they deserve. Right now, that means one-to-one technology and getting all teachers prepared to teach virtually, which I do think will happen at some point during this school year. After that, we need to prioritize modernizing some of our school buildings. I'm sure that there are many schools across Bibb County, but I know that here in District 1, we are working to make our school buildings better. That will also help with technology. We also need to keep working towards better compensating our teachers. I was pleased to see that in the submitted budget for this coming school year, they have saved step increases. Hopefully that will continue to be an option as the hearings go forward. Doing those things will make Bibb County have better teacher retention, which we definitely need to work on. We need to make Bibb County Public Schools a wonderful place to work, and teachers need to be fairly compensated for their experience in the classroom. Finally, helping our schools get better transportation needs to be a priority. Statewide, we're facing a bus driver shortage. If bus drivers are better compensated, we may have a few more. And we need to work on getting safer buses. I realize that we have bought many from Bluebird. Those things need to be a priority. So everything has to revolve around keeping our children safe and keeping our teachers safe and making sure that everyone is getting the things that they need.
Thank you. Ms. Johnson, what are your priorities in a time of budgetary shortfalls?
My priority are to make sure we have highly qualified teachers in every classroom. Make sure that we compensate all of our teachers for what they do for our children. One of my biggest concerns that teachers have been talking to me is that We do not want to have a cut in our salary during these times. So I haven't heard anything about cutting the teacher's salary in the furloughs. So that is very important to me. It's also important to me to make sure that every child in Bibb County School District has a computer, a laptop computer, and make sure that there is internet in the homes of every child in the Bibb County school system. We don't know at this time if we're going to have to close the school again. Well, we just may have to. But if we have to close the schools again, no child should be left behind merely because they didn't have the technology to keep up in the school district. I think during this time, we should have every classroom in every school equipped to handle this pandemic. I do not want to see the first child or classroom teacher or administrator harmed by this virus. So we must make sure that we are well equipped to keep our schools safe for our children. And another thing, we need to make sure we are communicating to our parents so they will know what is going on in this school district. And I thank you for your time, and I thank you for that question.
All right, Ms. Johnson, you get the question first now from our planning committee. Do you think in the current status of Bibb County's pandemic spread that it is safe to have in-class learning, and why?
Well, that's a very interesting question. In my talk with parents, and I've been out trying to find some parents to speak to, and in my search, while I'm out shopping at Walmart, I've talked to so many parents, and the parents are telling me that they are afraid to send their children back to school. Some parents say that they need to get them back in school, but the vast majority of the parents are saying, I'm afraid and I'm keeping my child at home. I feel that it's incumbent upon the school system to make sure we do everything in our power to make sure all of our schools are safe and to make sure that parents feel comfortable in sending their children back to school. Now, we should prepare to keep schools open rather than just open schools. We can open schools and then we have to shut them down again. But I think during this time, we need to focus, and I appreciate the school board for extending that time to help the teachers to get prepared for opening the schools. We need to make sure there are funds available, that every school is sanitized every day, that every student and every teacher have that protective gear. We need to do everything in our power to keep the schools open. If we can, we must follow the CDC instructions, not go on our own, but follow the instructions that we are getting for CDC. And if we decide to keep the schools open, then let's make them safe. Thank you.
Thank you. Now, Ms. Edwards, do you think, given the current status of Bibb County's pandemic spread, is it safe to have in-class learning, and why? Or why not?
Thank you. I do not think that it is safe to have in-class learning at this point. The plan put forth by Dr. Jones during the July 7th board meeting had clear scientific guidelines for reopening schools. And under that guideline, we are not able to have school in person, even for part of the week. I do think that we need to follow all recommendations of the CDC, of the Department of Health, and keep our students and teachers safe. If there were a way to have hybrid model, that would be preferable to most parents according to the survey that was done. That model has not been adopted currently by the Bibb County School Board. I hope that at some point in the future, when our viral numbers start coming down, that can be revisited. But at this time, there is no safe way to reopen schools. And having virtual learning does seem like something that will happen at our schools at this point on September 8th. I personally would send my children back inside a school building if we were no longer considered a hotspot. And the parent groups that I'm in, the other PTA members that I speak to, we're looking forward to that hybrid option. I think we are a very long way away from having a full day for every student each day of the week to go back to school. I do not think that is safe. I don't think that there is a way that we can clean enough, that we can wear enough masks, that we can social distance enough to safely go back to school with the virus working the way that it is right now in Macon.
All right, thank you very much. And those were the two questions we had from the Planning Committee. So now we will begin with our audience questions. Ms. Edwards, what is the most important role of a school board member, and how would you be the best qualified for that role?
I think the most important role for a school board member during this time is to take into account the needs of all stakeholders. All stakeholders includes parents. There is not a parent of a Bibb County Public School student on the board right now. And unless you have parented and e-learned and homeschooled through a pandemic, you have no idea how difficult, how stressful that is. And those things need to be taken into account. Everyone's voice needs to be heard, and there needs to be open communication between all stakeholders. There are fabulous retired educators on our school board right now. There are committed business people, community leaders on our school board, and there are 0 current parents. A parent's voice needs to be heard. We need to be in those executive meetings, and I can be that voice. So as we move forward with our school board, making these very difficult, very scary decisions, open communication needs to be the priority, and communication with all parties needs to be a priority. Those are the things that I think the school board is lacking right now and that I can provide. And that would be my priority, is to be that voice and provide that sort of parent leadership that Bibb County needs.
Thank you very much. Ms. Johnson, what is the most important role of a school board member, and how would you be best qualified for that role?
I think at this time, the best thing the school board can do for our people right now is to provide leadership and guidance for the school system. One of the roles of a board member or the board members is to provide leadership and guidance. And our school system definitely needs leadership and guidance during this pandemic time. The community is looking for the board to give them some guidance during this time. The professionals are looking to the board to give them some leadership and some guidance during this time to provide not only safety in our school system, but still provide a quality education for our students, whether it be virtually or face-to-face. As a retired educator and a retired school principal for 17 years, it has been my responsibility to provide a safe school for my students, to provide a safe place for the students to learn. With my experience as a school leader, I know what students in Bibb County need. I've been there for 31 years, 14 of those years as a classroom teacher, 17 of those years as a school administrator. I've sent my own children to Bibb County schools, and I was very pleased with my students, with my children in Bibb County, and my children attended the schools of District 1, where I was very satisfied. Thank you.
Thank you. And now our next question from the audience. Ms. Johnson, An individual school board member has no authority. Only the board as a whole can make decisions for the district. What skills or traits will allow you to contribute to the effective role of the board as a whole?
Not only have I been a school administrator, I've served on the 3 boards for the retired educators. I've served as president for the Georgia Retired Educator. I've served as a regular board member of the Georgia Retired Educators, and I've served as the president of the Georgia Retired Educators Museum. And I've picked up quite a few skills. I recognize that one individual cannot do it alone. It takes the whole group, the whole board being cohesive with the decisions that they make to try to do the right thing for the school system as a whole. We have to look out for the needs of the entire community, the entire school system, not just one area, not just our district, but the entire school district. And of course, as the representative for District 1, District 1 will be one of my main concerns, to make sure that decisions are made that will take care of our children in District 1. District 1 has been lacking in a lot of things. And as the school board member, I feel like it's my concern to share what I see is needed for the children in District 1. Do not want to get District 1's children neglected. So there's my voice that will speak for the children in District 1. As a school board member, I think it's my responsibility to try to convince the school board for all of us to be on one accord to take care of all of our children in the school system. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Johnson. Now, Ms. Edwards. An individual school board member has no authority. Only the board as a whole can make decisions for the district. What skills or traits will allow you to contribute to the effective role of the board as a whole?
Thank you. I spent years as a trial attorney. I am familiar with the ins and outs of advocacy, of making compromise and trying to move anything forward so that everyone can be satisfied with the outcome. I also sit on the board of a student group at Mercer University. I am their chapter advisor, and I have spent over a decade helping young people make better decisions. I think that that will serve me well on any board having to deal with those beautiful young women. And I also know that I bring a lot of passion to the school board. Parents deserve a voice, and when we all start to work together, our school system will get better. I also bring leadership by example. I'm currently sending my children to Bibb County Public Schools. I'm showing other parents that we are having a great experience. My children are learning at a very accelerated rate. I'm constantly amazed at the quality of education that they are getting and the level that they are working at, even in only the 4th and 6th grade. Doing those things will help our school system. When one parent says, you can send your child to a Bibb County public school and they are going to get a great education, more and more parents begin to send their children to Bibb County public schools. And that raises the entire system. Having more children in the Bibb County public school will make our entire community better. And I know that that is the kind of leadership I can provide on the Board of Education. Thank you.
Thank you. And thank you all who have submitted questions. This will be our last audience question and begin with Ms. Edwards. If elected, you will join 4 current board members that have been recognized as a part of an exemplary board by the Georgia School Boards Association. What will you bring to the table that will help to support the mission and vision of the Bibb County School District?
I will bring passion and leadership to the table. I will also bring a very different voice than they are used to hearing. I have children in the Bibb County Public School System, and there is nothing like knowing exactly what happened in that school system when you sent your child there that day. But moreover, I'll bring a sense of professionalism, of fairness, and equity through all schools. I know that the Bibb County Board of Education will continue to be an exemplary board when I join it. I know that I have the background to work with very large budgets, to make tough decisions, and to prioritize the things that need to be important, and to bring that different perspective of what is important to our parents going forward, especially during these unprecedented times as we start to make difficult decisions about budget cuts, about cutting programs, and where we can find all of those dollars and cents that we are losing out on. A parent has a different perspective of the priorities, and using all of those advocacy skills, the leadership skills, I know that I will be an excellent addition to this exemplary board. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Edwards. Now, Ms. Johnson, if elected, you will join 4 current school board members that have been recognized as part of an exemplary board by the Georgia School Boards Association. What will you bring to the table that will help to support the mission and vision of the Bibb County School District?
Thank you. I will bring to the board my exemplary leadership skills. As I said earlier, I've served on several boards. I've served on the board for the Georgia Retired Educators for 8 years. One of those years as the president-elect, the president of the state organization and the state museum, as well as the board for the local Bibb Retired Educators. I would bring to the board my experience as a retired principal, my budgetary skills in making budgets when I was in the school system, my skills as a financial trainer. I've trained several organizations right here in the Middle Georgia community on finance and budgeting. I've dealt with budgets over $2 million in the school system and the surrounding communities. So my nickname is Budget, Financial Advisor. I can plan with some money. I wrote a grant while I was in the school system, and our school earned $1.5 million but I had to budget it. I had to spend it, and we improved our school district. So I can bring to the school district my leadership skills in advancing school improvement. We've already done that. We've proven that we can improve schools, even schools that were very, very low academically. We moved our school from ranking number 31 at that time in the school system to number 7 in the school system. So I know how to improve schools in our district. Also, I bring to the school district my wisdom. With my experience, I have a lot of wisdom to offer the school board. And at this time, that's what we need, some wisdom, because wisdom is knowing what to do when you don't know what to do. And right now, we don't know what to do. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And now it's time for our closing statements. You each have 1 minute each, beginning with Ms. Edwards.
Thank you. As we think about improving Bibb County Public Schools, the piece that is missing is parent participation. No teacher can bring your student up by themselves. Having parent participation is what will increase our test scores, increase our graduation rates, and make Bibb County Public Schools the envy of everyone in this state. What we need right now is a voice from all stakeholders. There are no parents on the Bibb County Public School Board, and no one will understand what those parents are going through better than a parent. No one has lived during a pandemic. No one has opened a school during a pandemic, and no one has had the fear of sending their children to school during a pandemic until now. I understand what parents are going through. I know what we need to prioritize, and current Bibb County public school parents deserve a seat at the school board table, and I am that voice.
Thank you, Ms. Edwards. Now, Ms. Johnson, your closing statement.
I'd like to take this time to thank all of you for giving me this opportunity to speak to you through this medium. I want to be your champion for our students in Bibb County schools. You know me, and you know my record in this school district. Every child in the Bibb County School District deserves to have a quality education in a place where parents can feel that their children are safe and protected. I am that voice for you and our children. I am a parent. Early voting has started today. So I want you to get back out there and run with the champion. If you want a champion in the seat, then run with me, because our children are counting on you. Thank you.
Thank you very much, ladies. And now we will begin our county commission portion of the evening, where we will welcome.
Ms. Fabian, it's Rachel here. Give me just 1 second to get the video up and running. I just want to let everyone know that we're switching over videos right now.
Okay.
We are getting everyone up and running. So thank you for your patience here.
We're ready when you are.
Mr. Kitchens, if you can hear me, if you could start your video. I think that's, it is not starting on my end, so you'll have to click that yourself. For some reason, the button's not working.
Can you see
Be sure
it
to
now?
mute your other device as well.
Okay,
Just a second.
just a second.
And can you give us a mic check real quick? Mr. Kitchens? Mr. Kitchens, can you hear me?
He might have turned down his computer and also has his phone down, maybe, so he doesn't know you're talking to him, maybe.
Let me check real quick. I'm gonna send him a text message. Thank you all for your patience. Mr. Kitchens, are you able to hear us?
She said, can you hear him?
Yes, we can hear you a little bit.
All right, we just wanted to get a microphone check from you on your phone. If you'll start the video back on your phone. All right, can you hear us now?
We can hear you.
Yep, we got you.
All right.
All right, there you are. Thank y'all for your patience.
All righty, thank you, everyone. Now let's begin the County Commission portion of the evening's forum with our County Commission District 5 candidates. We have Seth Clark and Carlton Kitchens, and Mr. Clark has won the draw on this one, and so he begins with the opening statement of 1 minute, please.
Thank you, Liz, and thank everybody that's put this together. I really appreciate all everyone does for this community, and it's just been a pleasure for me and my family to support many of the organizations here putting this together over the past couple of years. My name is Seth Clark. I'm running to represent District 5 on County Commission, and I'm running because I really think this town is worth the effort that we all want to put into to see our town flourish. And I think we have real problems. I think we are a town struck by poverty, and I think we have a high crime rate as a symptom of poverty. And I think we suffer from food insecurity too. We have a poverty rate of 27% in this county. 70% of those people that are affected by poverty are African American, while only just above half of our town is African American. 22% live in a food desert. So these are real problems, and I think my ability and my resume address those needs. I've spent a decade working on poverty and race-related issues, and I would like to put that experience to use as your next county commissioner.
Thank you, Mr. Clark. Now, Mr. Kitchens, your 1-minute opening statement, please.
Mr. Kitchens, you'll need to hit unmute. I just sent there you go.
Okay, we got you now. Hello, hi everybody. Thank you for having me the Women's Voting League. Thank you for this opportunity. I come before you today to let you know of my structural background. I'm here because I love this community. I've been here 58 years here in Macon-Bibb County. I am a lifelong resident here, entrepreneur, a family man, president of the PTA of Westside High School. And I want to see our city be very productive. We're going to look at the crime rate. Right now, we have 31 murders in our city. So we want to work on that area, and as well as expand our regulations for our youth and our senior citizens, and preserving the historic site here in Macon-Bibb County and District 5. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Kitchens. And just as before, we will be alternating between the candidates. So, Mr. Kitchens, you also get the first question.
All
and
right.
It is, what are your priorities in a time of budgetary shortfall?
Well, I'm a businessman, and I know about budgeting, what the priorities of the shortfalls are. Sometimes you have to prioritize stuff in different situations in our city to create different programs that we can have recreational for our youth, different things for our senior citizens. And we talked about food desert. You know, we can come back all that stuff like food deserts and to expand for our first responders and stuff like that. So that's my goal of short time. We can budget and give our city's workers great incentive for our city workers as well.
Okay. Mr. Clark, what are your priorities in a time of budgetary shortfall?
I think the next commission has a lot of really hard decisions to make. I think if you look at the revenues that were lost during COVID, I think if you look at the double-digit unemployment rates that we're seeing, I think anytime you see a double-digit unemployment rate, you need to factor in the fact that Black unemployment is probably twice that. That's how, and I think that standard nationally would hold true locally. So we have a lot of really systemic big problems coming up. I think I think the next commission is going to have to look at funding opportunities that aren't necessarily directed to the general budget. I think we can do a lot with our blight bond. That's coming up again. I think the way that the commission split those bonds up, that bond money up by district was not a good model. I don't think we should go back to do this. There should be a needs-based approach on addressing blight. This district has the second highest concentration of blight in Macon-Bibb County. We can't, over the past 4 years, code enforcement has only had 3 people that can issue citations, which starts the process to getting rid of a blighted property. We've beefed that up recently, but we have a lot of work to dig out. But that's not general fund money. Well, the code enforcement is, but the blight bonds are not. I think that's one place we can look. And I think we have to have somebody that is familiar with how municipal governments interact with federal and state governments, because we're going to have 9 people on that commission that are ready to fight and demand that we draw down the federal and state support that we need to support and protect our families in this community during this pandemic, because it's not going away. We have to demand the PPE that we deserve, and right now we're not getting that. And so I think we have to have somebody there that understands that function. And I've spent years working in the legislature and understand how our local governments interact with each other. And so I do think I'm the best person for the job. And the last one is just getting a handle on crime and supporting the sheriff's department where we need to handle that, and really instituting a broad-based, successful community policing program.
Okay, and now the second question from our planning committee. Keep in mind, you do have 2 minutes for these answers. Mr. Clark, what is the county commission's responsibility right now during the time of COVID-19, especially as it relates to a face covering policy?
It's the county commission's responsibility to pass a mask mandate. I do not think that the governor is on good legal ground here. I think that the standard of adherence for municipalities is based in a code section that dictates what how an emergency management order is. The standard of adherence is in the Code of Georgia, and the standard of adherence is consistency. The governor has consistently said that we have to encourage people to wear masks. A mask mandate is not inconsistent with that, and we have this commission right now, not me or Mr. Kitchens in 6 months from now, has to stand up and make that legal case because we deserve that. So I think we need to do that, and I think it's the commission's job right now to fight for those CARE Act dollars and to it's working with the governor where we can and working against him where we have to. And I really hope that the current commission does step up, and I look forward to them passing that mask mandate and for the mayor to sign it next week.
All right, Mr. Kitchens, what
Yes.
is the county commission's responsibility right now during the time of COVID-19, especially as it relates to a face covering policy?
Right now, we want to just, be very structural concerns about those people are going through the COVID period at this time. It has impacted a lot of our personal families. I'm sure it impacted most of you guys' families as well. So I would put in place a mandated mask for the safety concern of all our citizens here in Macon-Bibb. Sometimes it's a very hot spot. Very areas, we got hot spots in our area. So what we're trying to do is make it safety. We're talking about, I heard the District 1 interview with Ms. Johnson and the other candidate talking about the safety concern of our kids. I have children that's in high school, and I want them to be safe. If it goes back, that they would have to go to learning face-to-face instead of virtual. I want them to be covered as other children. We're talking about elementary children, as well as finding funding for businesses. Small businesses are losing their, have shut down because of the COVID-19. And we want to just try to implement different plans and revenues in our city that we can provide small business loans for those persons that have lost, and then to protect the safety net of all our citizens here in Macon-Bibb as well as nationwide. That's my take on that mask wearing. And I would approve of that because I love the city that I've been in for the past 58 years. I want to see our city be very safe in this pandemic period. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Kitchens. And now the first of our audience questions tonight. Mr. Kitchens, what do you see as the most important role of a county commissioner? And how would you be best qualified for that role?
The way I see this is that we work across the aisle, bridging the gap, work in harmony as a great county commissioner. We have current county commissioner that's already on the board right now. So if we can get in there and learn that some of their craft, we work together. Now, what we're trying to do is bridge a better Macon, bring unification. We're gonna have to work with the Republicans on the one side. We're gonna have to work with the Democrats on all the sides to make Macon-Bibb kind of to be the best that she can be at this time. So I'm a person that know how to work with team. I'm an interactive person. I know how to get jobs done. I feel like I can be the best candidate in our community as well as on our county commissioner at this time.
Thank you, Mr. Kitchens. Now, Mr. Clark, what do you see as the most important role of a county commissioner, and how would you be the best qualified for that role?
Well, I think the first, the most important quality is being able to sell what's happening in these communities for whether it be for private funding or bringing in businesses to the community. And I think that that's a really important role. I've had my hand in helping a team of neighbors with a neighborhood co-op that was working to address the food desert and have helped make connections with the leadership there, with other food co-ops around the state. We're actually going to visit one and tour one tomorrow. That's been really successful in the South Atlanta neighborhood. So bringing those ideas that have been successful in other neighborhoods that have had similar problems as us is really valuable. And I think Mr. Kitchens did touch on a good point. working with other people. That's when I worked in the legislature, I helped author a bill that created something called the Zell Miller Grant for Technical College. The Zell Miller Grant opened up access for tens of thousands of low-income families to technical college in the state of Georgia. That was a bipartisan piece of legislation that was co-authored by, I helped do the research for a team of Democratic and Republican state legislators, and it was signed into law, and that's law now. I'm proud to have bipartisan support in this race because I don't think you can govern effectively without listening to all sides and working with all sides, and I'm proud to have bipartisan support of current members of the board. So I have current relationships that I intend to use to get get things done for this community. And I think that those my experience and those relationships that I have right now in this community really makes me the best candidate for the job.
And our next question from the audience for Mr. Clark. Georgia's civil rights law does not offer additional protections for workers beyond what is provided by federal law. What are your thoughts on a Macon ordinance for local protections regarding housing, employment, and accommodations?
I support it, and I've given my word to a group of active citizens in this town that were working on a comprehensive civil rights package that if it had not been dropped by the time I was sworn in, I'd carry that piece of legislation or ordinance that they're working on. And I'm the only candidate in this race that's endorsed by Georgia Equality who's pushing these exact measures around the state in municipal governments and state government. And so I'm very much in support of language like that and ordinances like that. And to the point where it's earned me the endorsement of one of the largest human and civil rights organizations in the state of Georgia. So, but I would very much support that language.
All right, Mr. Kitchens. Georgia's civil rights law does not offer additional protections for workers beyond what is provided by federal law. What are your thoughts on a Macon ordinance for local protections regarding housing, employment, and accommodations?
Well, my take on the great question that you have put between my candidate and myself is that I piggyback on some of the things that he said. I'm for civil rights. I think everybody should be treated equally in houses, fair housing for all people. I want to see our city as Macon start becoming a role model for different cities, and that we can continue to provide for our citizens of Macon-Bibb County as well as on a federal level. We want to bridge and make Macon great and provide great civil rights for all our people here in Macon-Bibb, not just for one race of people, but just for everybody to have the equal share. That's what I would be glad to see in Macon-Bibb at this time.
Thank you, Mr. Kitchens. And now our next question from the audience goes to Mr. Kitchen first. We have received many questions regarding the importance of trust. What role do you believe trust has in serving as a member of the County Commission?
Trust is a strong word. Trust is a very honest word. At first, you have to be honest with yourself, trust God and all that He set you out to do, and put Him around everything that you do. You have to let the people know that they can build the trust in you without selling them out. Once you give people your word is all that you have. Your word is your bond. If they see that they can build their confidence around you without any line that you're going to do this and that. They want to see what you're going to do in their community. Are you going to come in our community once you're elected, or you're just going to leave us alone once you've gotten elected? We come in these communities and we just tell them we're going to provide this program for them. Once we get elected, they don't see us anymore. And that's, knocking down their trust and confidence in that candidate. So you must have trust. Once the people feel that they can trust you, come back to the next election period, you can slide in again, because another candidate that will bring up lies, blatant lies, and different things of that nature can't be trusted. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Kitchens. And now, Mr. Clark, We've received many questions regarding the importance of trust. What role do you believe trust has in serving as a member of the County Commission?
I think it's incredibly important. I've spent the past year and a half knocking on doors, making voter phone calls, and creating relationships with neighbors from all walks of life. I think if you look at the coalition of support that we've built, you'll see that, and I'm very proud of that. We have bipartisan, biracial support here, and I think that it's not been an easy coalition to build, and so I am very proud of it. But once to Mr. Kitchen's point, once you are elected, it's important to maintain those relationships and talk to folks and listen. I think one of the elephants in this room, this is a predominantly African American district that we're running to represent, and I believe that there should be and has been reticence of being. It's not just. Let me back up. It's not just an African American district. We're represented by a civil rights hero right now. And before that, we were represented by his sister, who integrated the public school system and whose mother was the mother of the bus boycott here in Macon. This is a special district. And there is reticence of being represented by a white candidate, because frankly, there's a lot of people that look and sound like me who have come and knocked on doors. And then to Mr. Kitchen's point, they didn't come back and they didn't follow through. And so I think that trust, when you are trying to hold together a community that can only move forward with biracial support and with a coalition that looks like Macon, Georgia, I think trust is the factor there. And it's the reason that I got in this to make those relationships and to really speak to that distrust and hope to heal that with trust. So yeah, I don't think it's a factor of representation. I think it might be the factor.
All right. Well, our current county commission's effectiveness is hampered by a deep sense of distrust and division. What about your tenure would make this less so? And how would you work in the current environment of disunity on the commission, Mr. Clark?
Like I said before, I think I think my resume really speaks to this. I don't think that I worked in the state legislature for a number of years. Worked for a Democratic state representative on issues of access to technical college, and specifically through the Hope Scholarship and the Hope Grant, opening up access to low-income families. Don't think anybody would call the state legislature a bastion of bipartisanship, or I mean, it has very much been a political entity where the national division plays out, and unfortunately, I think we have seen that trickle down into this county commission too. But even in that environment, I was able to work on and sell the idea of opening access to poor families for technical college. Tens of thousands of Georgia families are beneficiaries of the Hope Grant right now, or the Zell Miller Grant, a program that was created from a piece of legislation that I helped create. That took input from Republicans, it took input from Democrats, and it took hard research to back up selling this idea. So, I mean, the way you get through this is if we're looking at, this is a great example. Commissioner Watkins put together a pilot program for property tax abatements. This was a year ago, maybe. And it kind of fell along what I guess we would call party lines until he sold the idea based on census tracts to Commissioner Allen, because Commissioner Allen was looking at his low-income census tracts in Wazella, and he got bipartisan support on that. And I've done that in the legislature on the staff side, and I'd like to do it on the as the next county commissioner for District 5.
Thank you, Mr. Clark. And now, Mr. Kitchens, our current county commission's effectiveness is hampered by a deep sense of distrust and division. What about your tenure would make this less so? And how would you work in the current environment of the disunity on the commission?
Well, I've served this community over 20 plus years, as being a community activist. And like I'm gonna go back to the trust issues. We have right now currently on our commissions that's serving our county right now. You're saying about distrust. A lot of people have felt as though they've been sold out by a lot of our county commissioners that have somewhat, and not to throw shade on anyone, but once those people feel that they've been sold out by certain kind of commissioners on the board continuously, they just don't have a distrust. But for me to bridge that gap, and they have that trust in me to bring unification back on that council, that we can move our city farther and farther, and people on the outside will be gladly to come to visit our city. The jobs industry would be glad to come. And that's how we're going to try to, bridge the gap on our county commissioners. That's how we can do this. If they got distrust in them, like I said before, people will not come back to the polls and vote. They're going to always come down and call you out. So we owe it to our constituency to do a great job for our community. And that's the kind of guy I want to be. That's the kind of guy I've always been. And I know I can work with council to bring great trust back to our county commissioner.
Thank you very much, Mr. Kitchens. Well, it's just about time for our closing statements. And in reverse order from when we began, Mr. Kitchens will be giving his first closing statement, or his closing statement will be going first. And keep in mind that this is 1 minute. Mr. Kitchens.
Okay, thank you for having me again this evening. I really want to express my feelings of my heart for our city of Macon-Bibb. A lot of my people here know me. I'm a person that love to help everybody that I can help. And I know in our community that they can trust every word that I say, because if you give me a hammer and a nail, that's all I need to get down and work for our community. I'll be having town hall meeting for all our people in our district, as well as bridging the gap in all communities. I know a lot of people here that know of my credentials and my credibility in this city. They still have faith and they still have trust and belief in me. So this has been a difficult week, but I want you to understand one thing. My heart is for my city. And I know that I can move this city the way she should have been moved in District 5. So please, if you give me that opportunity in District 5, I'm ready to go to work for you. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Kitchens. And now, Mr. Clark, your closing statement, please.
I'd first like to thank everybody for putting this together. And I'd also just like to begin my remarks by thanking Commissioner Burt Bivens. He is, as I said before, he's a sentinel of civil rights here in Macon-Bibb. And I think as we grieve the loss of Congressman Lewis and Reverend Vivian, we have our Vivians and our Lewises among us. And I think it's been an honor to run to sit in a seat that one of those heroes has sat in. And so I just want to thank him for everything he's done for this community. And to the voters, I want to thank you for the year of inviting me into your living rooms, talking to me on your phone. And I trust you, and I trust your judgment. And I trust that you will watch this tonight and look at what we said and not listen to platitudes, and look to our character and see who we both are. And I think I trust your judgment, and I hope you'll go vote. Thank you.
Thank you very much, both of you gentlemen, and thank you for your willingness to serve. And now we have another runoff in County Commission District 7 that we will begin with momentarily as soon as we have everything ready to go.
Rachel Gamble here, just letting everyone know we are getting our District 7 candidates microphones on and getting their cameras started. We'll be ready here shortly, so thank you for your patience. Mr. Howell and Ms. Thompson, if you guys could both say something real quick so we can make sure your microphones are working.
Test.
I got you. Ms. Thompson, if you can hear me.
Hear you.
I've got you there. Thank you very much. And Ms. Fabian, we are ready when you are.
All right, so Mr. Clark and Mr. Kitchens can join Ms. Edwards and Ms. Johnson in the green room while we continue with the forum. And now welcome to our County Commission District 7 runoff candidates. We have Bonnie Thompson and Bill Howell. We are going to begin with our Planning Committee questions. after our opening statements. Keep in mind that each opening statement is a minute long, but the questions will be 2 minutes. And for this draw, Ms. Thompson will be going first with your 1 minute opening statement. Ms. Thompson?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you all for inviting me to this forum. I would like to say that I'm one of
Hey,
your
Rachel, this is Rachel Gamble here. Miss Thompson, we'll make sure you get your full time, but your microphone is not working correctly. If you will look at your audio button real quick and make sure that you have it connected through your system microphone. It might say dialed through internet. And I may actually, let me check. Give me a 1, 2, 3 real quick. All right, now we don't have audio. Do you see the option on your Zoom screen to test your audio by the microphone? It should be in the bottom left where it says mute. There should be a little arrow there that would direct you to test your audio, test your microphone, I mean. And to everyone else watching, thank you for your patience. This is Rachel Gamble troubleshooting a tech issue we're having.
Where would we be without technical difficulties?
I know, right? Let's see. We are having audio issues. I know we heard you all right earlier, so I'm not sure if it's the internet connection.
maybe Mr. Howell would like to go ahead while I work on this.
If you want to do that, Ms. Thompson, if you want to log out and log back on, I'm wondering if that would help. And we will see what we can do to fix this. If you want to continue with Mr. Howell's comments, I'm going to call Ms. Thompson separately off this call so we can continue as we do.
So do you want me to go ahead with the opening statement for Mr. Howell? Or should we wait so that Ms. Thompson gets to hear both?
I think Ms. Thompson said to go ahead with Mr. Howell's. I think that will be fine. Thank you.
All righty. Well, Mr. Howell, your 1 minute opening statement, please.
Can you hear me now? Can you
You're
hear
fine.
me?
Yes.
Okay, good. Hey, everyone. First, I want to thank the League of Women Voters, the Georgia Women, and the Macon chapter of the Links Incorporated for this opportunity to talk to everybody and introduce myself. I am Bill Howell, and I'd love to serve as the next County Commissioner, District 7. I was born in Macon and actually lived in District 7 in the Bloomfield area as a child. I'm retired now, and I have the time to dedicate to this position. I've started several successful businesses. That experience has taught me how to both create and stick with a budget. We have to start Macon-Bibb budget by separating our needs and wants. Currently, we're 150 officers plus short, and we don't have those budgets even in our budget. We have to fix that. Macon is a diverse community, and I understand as commissioner, I need to work with all the other commissioners. I ask for your vote on August 11th.
Thank you, Mr. Howell. I don't see Ms. Thompson.
Hey, Ms. Thompson. Hey, this is Rachel. I've got Ms. Thompson on the phone right now. If y'all will just hold tight for 1 second, we're going to
Sure.
get it worked out and get her back here in the meeting.
Sounds great. I guess this is a good time to remind everybody that early voting started today. So you have now until the end of the week before the election to go to the Board of Elections and cast your ballot in person. You can request an absentee ballot. I know a lot of people with COVID-19, that was a big deal with the last election. And again, with numbers the way they are, go ahead and file for an absentee ballot, and you can go ahead and get your voting done without having to go to the polls. So that's a good option. And how many of you haven't filled out your census form yet? Yep, it's got to be done. So remember, if you don't have it, you can always log on and fill in information. You know, if you don't have what came in the mail, you can go on to census.gov and explain your situation. You should be able to fill it in and file it, because so much of federal government allocated money is directly based to the census. So I know some people might be apprehensive about it, but it isn't shared within other agencies. I mean, your information is right there. It's not like it's going to be shared with different governmental agencies. They guarantee that. So it's very important to get it in.
Hey y'all, Rachel
I
Gamble
see
here.
Rachel, yes.
I've just spoken with Miss Thompson. I was going to ask Miss Cox what she recommends. Miss Thompson is having some internet problems. Her internet has gone out, which is why we had the audio issue. Of course, we want to make sure all candidates have fair and equal time to address everyone. So she and I are working on that. And Miss Cox, if you're available to weigh in, since you're running the shindig, you might have better options than I would have.
And I'm sorry about this to all of our audience and to Mr. Howell and to Ms. Thompson. Rachel, do you believe that she's going to be able to get established on here?
I'm not sure. She's going to call me back in just a minute. So I know we were speaking about the census and elections started today. If y'all have important things to talk about, I can call her back and continue that process and let you know. But we left it at a point of I don't know a few moments ago.
And do you think that she can call in and use the audio, perhaps even through your Zoom to connect?
I will walk her through that process and report back momentarily.
Okay, we'll wait one more minute because we certainly want to be able to have this forum if we can. And apologies to the audience. We did practice this ahead of time and we did not have issues with Ms. Thompson's audio at that time. So please bear with us one moment and we'll see what we can do.
Voting lines were short today.
Well, that's great.
There were people there, but it wasn't really crowded. So if you want to vote early, now's a good time to go.
And we have this update actually from the Board of Elections that we have had 471 people voting today in person at the office there at 2525 Pionono Avenue. So some folks are getting a jump start on this runoff. And the advanced in-person voting, that's every day, Monday through Friday, 8:30 a.m. until 5:30 p.m. And there's no voting on the Monday prior to Election Day. So it starts the Friday before. So polls open at 7 o'clock that Tuesday morning, the 11th. They'll be open from 7 to 7. And also you can visit the Secretary of State's page, which is the My Voter page, which is www.mvp.sos.ga.gov. And that's where you can get sample ballots and the absentee ballot application we were mentioning earlier to submit a request for the ballot by mail. You can do it in person. You can actually go to the Board of Elections, or you can send an email if you're interested in the absentee ballots to absentee@Macon-Bibb.us. That one's pretty easy, absentee@Macon-Bibb.us. Or you can mail the application to the Macon-Bibb County Board of Elections, and that's Post Office Box 6297, Macon, Georgia, 31208. Or you could fax, if if you still have a fax machine, to 478-621-6119. Those are ways that you can request that absentee ballot. Or if you need to check your voter record or make sure that you are online registered. And of course, the deadline has already passed for this election. So if you're not registered for this election, but go ahead and get registered, because November is coming faster than we know it. And so that's going to be a big election as well. And you can always contact the Board of Elections if you have any other questions regarding local voter registration or the election schedule or anything like that. But once again, the early voting began today and will run until August 7th. You can vote in advance any day from 8:30 to 5:30. I'd suggest you get there earlier than 5 though, so they can go home at 5:30 or 6. Those folks are working hard to make sure these elections go smoothly.
Rachel has just messaged me, and they are trying again to get Ms. Thompson on the phone. I have discussed this with League of Women Voters, and if we are not able to get her on the phone, it is a policy that we can't have an empty chair for them, so that we will greatly regret if that happens, Mr. Howell, but we are trying. And I just saw Rachel unmute a moment ago. Rachel, are we making progress on this?
Hey, I understand.
We're about to get Ms. Thompson in on the phone. I'm just giving her the meeting ID right now.
Excellent. Great. And again, forgiveness.
Thankfully, Zoom does have a phone number option, so we've got Ms. Thompson dialing in here shortly. I just want to thank everyone for their patience. As most people know, with any live event, anything could go wrong at any moment.
This is true.
Ms. Thompson, can you hear me? I believe we have you on the line now.
I can hear you.
All right, excellent. So we do have Ms. Thompson on the phone, even though y'all won't be able to see her. She is here, and yeah, there you go.
All right, Ms.
Okay,
Thompson.
All right.
Can we have your 1-minute opening statement, please?
Okay, I'm Bonnie Thompson. I'm running for District 7 Commissioner. I hope that I can get your vote. I am concerned about all the seniors in my district who are being taxed to the brink of losing their homes. I'm concerned about the residents off of Sardis Church Road who are constantly hindered by tent cities in the woods off Sardis Church and off Frank Amerson Parkway. I'm concerned about all the citizens in Bibb County who are overtaxed. I think the first thing that we can do to get that, to get our county back in order and on the right road is to get our law enforcement to the proper levels. I have leaned on them hard for some of the issues in District 7, and they've tried to do the very best that they can do, but because we don't have the right amount of law enforcement, we're hindered. So I am willing to work hard for all the citizens in Macon-Bibb, and that's why I'm running for commissioner.
All right, thank you very much, Ms. Thompson. And we are going to be going back and forth between the two of y'all. So I'm going to give you the first question. since our opening statements were reversed. So, Ms. Thompson, what are your priorities in a time of budgetary shortfall?
Okay. Well, my main priority is getting our law enforcement up to speed, because if they're not working properly, we can't solve all the problems that are hindering us here in Bibb County. And without solving those, we can't attract businesses. We can't do things that will help us avoid taxing our taxpayers. So I believe getting law enforcement up and running is the first thing we can do. I also believe restoring the Eisenhower Corridor to its glory days is a way to get Macon-Bibb back on track. I don't know what things we can do that are free, but I'm sure we can put our heads together on the commission and come up with some ways to head that back in the right direction, because what's happening now is North Macon, the mall and everything moved over there, and it's beautiful and it's great, but it's too far for the people in District 7 to travel and shop. So what's happening, the people in District 7 are going to Warner Robins, and they're getting all of our sales tax money. So I'd like to bring that sales tax money back to Macon-Bibb and put it back in our budget to help us move ahead without taxing our citizens.
Thank you very much, Ms.
Just to interject real quick, this is Rachel here. Just a reminder that Ms. Thompson isn't able to see our time cue paddles. And so, Ms. Thompson, for your benefit and everyone else's, I'm going to say when we get to 15 and when to stop. So sorry if that throws anyone off. I just want to make sure we keep it as fair as possible.
All right. Thank you very much, Rachel. And now, Mr. Howell, what are your priorities in a time of budgetary shortfall? And remember, these questions are 2 minutes.
Well, you know, I've never seen a budget any time that didn't have a budgetary shortfall. Obviously, in this time of COVID-19, there will certainly be some shortfalls that no one was counting on. But I think the real secret is we just have to have a budget that we can all live with. Like Ms. Thompson said, law enforcement has to go back to the top of the list. We're certainly going to have to separate our needs from our wants. I don't want to cut employees' salaries. Long enough Bibb County has ridden on the backs of employees for budget shortfalls, and that's not right. We have some serious retirement issues that we have to deal with past employees, present employees, and just, cutting the salaries of our employees is just not the answer. Some programs, there's going to have to be some hard decisions made, and some programs may be cut temporarily, and some of the things we do, we may have to cut back on for a while.
All right. Now, our second question from the Planning Committee is a timely one. Mr. Howell, what is the County Commission's responsibility right now during the time of the COVID-19 pandemic, especially as it relates to a face covering policy?
Well, that's the hot topic right now, and I'm sure going to be a big topic of discussion at tomorrow night County Commission meeting. The way our state is set up, all of that falls on the governor, and then the counties are supposed to fall in line behind him. That is the current law. So we pretty much are going to be tied to what the governor says. But however, I do feel like face coverings are very important. We've seen a real spike in cases. The death numbers aren't up as much, but we are seeing a spike in cases. And I think just common sense. I think we should encourage, as leaders, we should encourage everybody to wear a face mask when they're out in public, when they're going to be around people. Making it mandatory, I don't think it holds much weight. If the commission or the mayor issues an ordinance, I don't think that's going to hold much weight. But leading by example is very important, not only in this crisis, but in every crisis. And I think we should walk the walk if we're going to talk the talk. Thanks.
All right, thank you, Mr. Howell. Now, Ms. Thompson, what is the County Commission's responsibility right now during the time of COVID-19, especially as it relates to a face covering policy? You have 2 minutes.
Okay. What the governor has said is he encourages it, but he refuses to mandate it. So what I think is we need to keep encouraging people to wear face coverings. We need to keep encouraging social distancing. But that is the most we can do, is encourage. I believe that if all the stores and the places where people have to shop, grocery stores and so on, if they keep up their sanitization, if they encourage over their speakers, if they encourage people to wear their face masks and to social distance. I know that reminds me real quickly, if I forgot to put my mask on, I see that sign and out of my pocketbook it comes and on my face. So I agree with Mr. Howell, we should lead by example. But sometimes we forget, and those things help us to remember and help us to participate in killing COVID-19.
Thank you very much, Ms. Thompson. And now we go to our audience question segment. And the first question I'm going to ask to Ms. Thompson, what do you see as the most important role of a county commissioner, and how would you be best qualified for that role?
Well, I see the role of a county commissioner as staying in touch with the people in your district. For District 7, that has not happened. I don't know if I didn't see him in the county commission meetings every once in a while. I don't know that I would recognize my current county commissioner. That can't be. The people of District 7 have to want to speak with their commissioner, and their commissioner has to want to hear what they've got to say. That is, to me, the most important role of a commissioner is to listen to your people and advocate for the things that are important to them. And as county commissioner, that's exactly what I would like to do. I already work with the people in District 7 and listen to them, and I try from just a citizen's perspective to lift their concerns up. And I think that's the role of a commissioner. And I plan to open a website if I'm elected commissioner for District 7 so that people can answer questions, give input, and help me understand their needs in District 7 that I might overlook without having communication with them.
Thank you, Ms. Thompson. And now, Mr. Howell, what do you see as the most important role of a county commissioner, and how would you be the best qualified for that role?
I think first that you need to understand what the role of a county commissioner is. Just because you're elected in a district to be a commissioner does not give you the authority or the rights to expect a lot of things out of the state, the federal government. You know, the role of a county commissioner is pretty defined, and in our particular case, District 7, those people elected me, those are the people I feel like I should answer to first, and then answer to the rest of the people that live in Bibb County. We have some unique needs in our district. There are several communities and subdivisions that have some serious drainage issues that hadn't been there forever, but seem to over time have gotten worse. For way too long, District 7 has been poorly represented, and I know that I can change that. I know I got the time and the effort and the commitment to serve, and I want to talk with all the people that I hadn't talked to already, get with them, find out their concerns. But I think the major thing is to understand your district, and work to improve your district first, and then to improve the county. Thanks.
All right, our next question from the audience for Mr. Howell first. Georgia civil rights law does not offer additional protections for workers beyond what is provided by federal law. What are your thoughts on a Macon ordinance for local protections regarding housing, employment, and accommodations?
I've heard you ask that question to the other sets of candidates, and in my career, I have been a realtor. The federal government has a very good program concerning housing and equal rights for everybody for housing. You can't discriminate against anybody based on much of anything these days, and they add to that. So as far as Bibb County setting up something that'll be more stricter than that, it's kind of like trying to override the governor. I don't know where we can improve locally other than by encouragement, but whether it's, no matter where you live, you're pretty well going to get equal housing rights in this great nation that we live in. So again, I think some recommendations from the commission would be great. but I don't know that we can improve on the laws already in place. Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Howell. Now, Ms. Thompson, Georgia civil rights law does not offer additional protections for workers beyond what is provided by federal law. What are your thoughts on a Macon ordinance for local protections regarding housing, employment, and accommodations?
I would have to agree with Mr. Howell that the laws are already in place, and there's doing an ordinance wouldn't make any improvements on that. However, I do think that Macon-Bibb could set up a group of people who help individuals, just take housing for an instance, get from no home to a home. Sometimes it's hard for people who are poverty-stricken, who are homeless, to find that outlet to get them from being on the street or being homeless to having a home. We need a group of people that can help bridge that gap for our homeless people. I think the commissioners need to be involved. I heard in the past meeting they had a young lady, I think it was from the EEBOC. She was going over their budget and how they were going to use the money and so on. And she mentioned a tiny home community. I asked about that tiny home community just in the comment, but because I'm just a citizen, I didn't get an answer. But to me, the commissioners need to be following up on that because as we've heard Valerie Wynn say, her husband was attacked downtown because of homelessness, a homeless person. We really need to jump in there and address those situations and have somebody to help these people bridge the gap. And I think that will help with the housing situation. I don't think it needs any additional laws, but just somebody who can reach out and help these people who are struggling find the right path.
Thank you, Ms. Thompson. Now, our next question from the audience involves the atmosphere on the county commission. Ms. Thompson, our current county commission's effectiveness is hampered by a deep sense of distrust and division. What about your tenure would make this less so, and how would you work in the current environment of disunity on the commission?
Well, I will tell you that I'm an honest person. I'm face value. What you see is what you get. I'm not going to mislead the people in District 7. I'm going to fight for the things that's important to them. I'm not going to ignore them. I'm not going to not show up for the meetings. My vote will be cast every time unless I am sick in the bed. And if that comes to light and I can't attend my meetings like I should, I will resign from my position. But I will not fail the people by not showing up and not having my say on the things that are going on in Macon-Bibb and how they affect District 7. I will be there for the people of District 7.
Thank you, Ms. Thompson. Now, Mr. Howell, our current county commission's effectiveness is hampered by a deep sense of distrust and division. What about your tenure would make this less so, and how would you work in the current environment of disunity on the commission?
I think trust is something that's earned, not just a given. And in order to have that trust, you've got to prove to people that you're trustworthy. I will do that with District 7, with the constituents out here, and let them know. As far as working with others, you know, sometimes I think you're just going to get to an impasse and it's going to be hard to come to an agreement. But I've found in running my own businesses and being involved in other civic activities and stuff that a lot of times you're not as far apart as you think you are. And I think sitting down and having frank conversations, understanding the problems, working with other commissioners, I think that can be done. Now, yes, occasionally there's just going to be stops in the road that you can't get around, but we've got 4 new commissioners coming on board. The face of the commission is going to certainly be different this time. And I think we got to start off day one working together and building that trust and building that relationship between the other 8 commissioners.
Thank you very much, Mr. Howell. And now we have our last question from the audience before we move into closing statements. So, Mr. Howell, what will you do to address Macon's high rate of empty and abandoned commercial property and the problems that it presents?
Oh, you whipped a new question on us here. You said the high rate of commercial property?
Empty and abandoned commercial property and the problems that it presents.
You know, I've seen a lot of this on the internet lately. I think first you have to understand that if a building's empty, you can't force a new business to use that building because it may not suit their needs. And if it's private enterprise, you've got to let them make their own decisions about where they use. However, somebody owns every building in town, every house, every commercial building. And I think we've been real laxed in finding these people when they let the buildings get run down. I think we've been real laxed in trying to go out and find a suitable business that would fit that need. And while I'm not an advocate of making people use a certain building or especially an existing building, I am most definitely an advocate of bringing in new business, finding a fit for some of these areas, finding people that could use the buildings. And I worked on a planning commission in a different town, and we found that maybe a little bit of rezoning and letting people use buildings in a new capacity than what it was maybe originally designed for. Take, for example, downtown Macon. You know, a lot of the stuff that goes on down there was not what was going on 100 years ago, 50 years ago. I remember 30 years ago when Macon was almost dead downtown. So I think we have to take a new look at what we've got, at the inventory that's in town, and then work with new companies to come in and maybe revitalize by making a different zoning or a different requirement to use those buildings. Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Howell. And now, Ms. Thompson, what will you do to address Macon's high rate of empty and abandoned commercial property and the problems that it presents?
Well, first of all, I'd like to talk about the Eisenhower Carter. Outside of my district, that's one of my big priorities. I want a place to shop without having to go to one of Robin's. I want my sales tax money to go back into Macon-Bibb. And the whole commission, existing commission, knows why that section of town failed. That section of town failed because they took the law enforcement and they let crime prevail there. I've watched the whole thing. I'm 59 years old and I've lived in District 7 those 59 years. I've watched the whole thing. I watched on the news as they told those businesses in the Macon Mall that were struggling with crime, pay for your additional law enforcement. You pay for it. You can't do that in a city. Every person that owns a business in a city should have the same law enforcement, same coverage as somebody in North Macon. And so I believe that we can put the law enforcement back in some of these areas, back in the Eisenhower Carter. We can go out and ask for new business to come in. I believe if we build it back in the correct way, that new businesses will want to come back there. But we can't treat one part of town differently from the way we treat another part. It has to all be treated the same. The other thing that I would like to see, and it may not come to pass, is I would like to see planning and zoning working with the commissioners for the different districts so that they have an input into what's being built and what's going on and the problems for their district. And I think that will help with the buildings just springing up everywhere and the empty buildings.
Thank you very much, Ms. Thompson. And now we've reached almost the end of our allotment. So I'm going to go ahead with our closing statements. Y'all each have a minute to just wrap up why you should be the County Commissioner for District 7. And we're going to begin with Ms. Thompson.
Yes, I thank you all for listening to this forum, and I hope that I have said enough to get your vote for County Commissioner for District 7. I will continue to work on the issues that I've been working on, such as the panhandling at Frank Amerson Parkway, the red light at Frank Amerson and Sardis Church. I will continue to work for removing school taxes for senior citizens 62 years and older. And I will continue to work on the blight and the trash and illegal dumping in my district.
Thank you very much, Ms. Thompson. And now Mr. Howell.
Thank you. Thank you once again for everybody that made this forum possible, and thank you all for listening and participating. For the last year and a half, I've attended just about every committee meeting and commission meeting. In fact, I know for a fact I've been there more often than our current District 7 commissioner. I've talked with the citizens in District 7. I understand the needs in District 7. I understand the folks involved with the day-to-day operations in Macon. And I've even worked on some drainage issues already in our district. My 40 years of business experience gives me the skill set to not only manage a budget, but also negotiate with other commissions and address issues that affect both District 7 and our entire community. Areas that need addressing. In District 7, we certainly have drainage issues as number one. We have some road issues that, like everywhere else in the county, that need addressing. A red light at the Love's truck stop is certainly on my priority list because that's a dangerous intersection. Countywide, we have to fix our first responders' pay. I know that currently there's a program to do that, but they haven't figured out how to pay it. We have to balance the budget. I humbly ask for your support and vote on August 11th. Thank you so much for your time, and thanks for listening.
Thank you, Mr. Bill Howell and Ms. Bonnie Thompson, your runoff candidates for County Commission District 7. And again, thank you all for putting yourself out there to run for office. It's not an easy job, and I appreciate your efforts. And now I'm going to turn it over to the lovely and fabulous Mary Louise Bell.
You're muted, Mary Lou. Just 1 second. All right, there you go.
Lovely, fabulous. I'm muted.
Oh, okay, good. I'm the president of the League of Women Voters, and I want to thank our audience for being with us tonight. We've had a kind of an exciting night, but thanks to Rachel Gamble's skill and Claire Cox's skill and Liz Fabian being able to fill in for us, we made it through. And I appreciate we had all of this good technology going for us tonight. For those of you who have friends who didn't get to see our forum tonight, it will be available tomorrow on YouTube. And the name of that YouTube video will be 2020 Macon-Bibb Runoff Election Forum. Now, all three of the sponsor sites will have a link to that also. And those sponsors are, of course, Georgia Women, the Macon chapter of the Links Incorporated, and the League of Women Voters. Now, we have got a lot of people to thank tonight, and I want to start off with our 6 candidates. And I think what I'm going to do is just call you by race, and if you want to, just raise your hand so people can look at you again. It's been a few minutes since they've seen some of you. But in our first group this morning, this evening, we had 1st District Board of Education, and that was Tara Edwards and Murtis C. Johnson. In the 5th District Commissioner's race, we had Seth Clark and Carlton Kitchens. And our last group tonight, in the 7th District Commissioners, we had Bill Howell and Bonnie Thompson. Bonnie, we didn't get to see you, but we heard you. So that's good for all of us. I also want to thank, of course, our moderator, Liz Fabian. Great job. Our Zoom manager, Rachel Gamble, and our media coverage, Susan Long. I want to remind you, we vote on August the 11th. You can do early voting, you can do absentee voting, you can also go on the day of election and vote in your precinct. Whichever thing you do, vote. That's the main thing. Remember, this is your privilege. This is your right to vote. Use it. It is yours as a citizen of the United States. And so, vote and good night. Thanks for being here.
Great job, everybody. Thank you all so much for participating. I'm sorry